let's face the facts. We've got a recession on right now, and times are hard. Money is tight, and if you've got the notion to spend $1 million on beekeeping equipment, you can do it easily. You can buy all the fancy stuff and all the tricks and doodads that are going. You can go through those supply catalogs and just have a ball. But if money's tight for you and you're doing beekeeping because it's a good hobby, it's a nice way to get outside, and just because you don't want to pay the price for honey, or if you want to have a little side hustle and something to sell on the side, you got to cut costs and you got to make do with what you've got and make the most of what you have.
Don't wanna sleep in, cause I got something to prove. I gotta take what I hate and finally make a move. I think of you and all the shit you don't do. Well, I'ma make hella.
Hi everybody, this is Brent and welcome to Beekeeping in Paradise. I'm glad you're here and I am so happy to have you back with me. If you are a returning viewer, thank you very much. You are definitely appreciated. And if you're new here, well, you're in for a treat. Today we're going to be talking about how I mind my own beeswax. And I don't mean staying out of other people's business. I mean literally, how do I manage my beeswax? A couple of days ago, I posted a video about extracting honey with the world's cheapest honey extractor. And in that video, first of all, if you haven't seen it, go back and check it out after you've watched this one, because I think you'll like it. If you've already seen it, then you noticed how we uncapped all of our frames before putting them into the world's cheapest extractor. And we spun the honey out. But we were left with an aluminum pan filled over with cappings and dripping in honey. So today is the follow-up video, and I'm going to show you how it is that I separated that and how much honey we actually recovered from that process. So let's take a look at what we have here. Okay, this is how I've had this set since I got home from extracting. We used 2 double screen sieves to strain the honey. It's not a filter, it's a strainer. So the honey is still raw, it's not processed. And just in order to keep any flies or fruit flies out of it, I've got it covered in some plastic wrap. And yes, it is quite sticky. You'll get used to sticky if you become a beekeeper. If you are a beekeeper, then you are already used to sticky. But this is what we've got. I have 2 pans of cappings. Now these cappings have been straining. Whoop! Oh God, what did I just do? Well, that was a no-no. Okay, I've got 2 tins, or 2 strainers full of cappings, wax. Then I just dumped a bunch of it into my honey. So I'm going to have to filter this, or pardon me, I'm going to have to strain this again. But step 1 here, I'm going to take these strainers from pan A and put them into pan B. I'm gonna have to get these screens out, and they are full of honey. what I'm left with, oh, this is heavy. Let's see how much honey we can get. And remember, this is just from one super. 9 frames. This is the honey that was recovered. Okay, I've brought along an battery-operated kitchen scale. Right, and we will zero that out. So you can jar your honey with a layer of wax and then just skim. Let's put a more definite crease in there. So once again, save your cappings. Try to recover all the honey that you can from your cappings because it adds up. Let's check this out, okay? We're talking over 7 pounds of honey there. Not bad, especially you figure $10 per pound, $70 worth of honey just from the cappings. Not a bad day's work if you ask me. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna come back over here to these 2 sieves full of wax and a few other handfuls of wax that I've collected through the summer. We're gonna take these into the kitchen, we're gonna process them down, and we're gonna see how much wax we can get out of it. Okay, let me go to the kitchen and I'll talk to you in there. Okay, hi, welcome back. Now we're in the kitchen. And this is where we're going to process our wax. And one word of warning: keep your wax away from the sink. Also, get yourself a pot or a pan from Goodwill or a garage sale or somewhere else. Do not even think about using one of your everyday pots and pans that you use to cook in, because once wax touches it, it's done. It's dead forever. You cannot clean it because you don't want to get it close to your sink. And by the sink, it doesn't matter if it goes in the porcelain sink, right? Or a stainless steel sink. No, it's your pipes you got to worry about. This stuff, if you pour melted wax anywhere near your drain and it goes down into your drain, it's going to harden very quickly. It will become a brick, and then you'll have major issues. So, all right, so let's check out what I've got and what I've been using here. And all right, you can see this pan is just for wax. I don't use for anything else, just for wax. And this is how your good pan will look if you use it. Your good pan may say non-stick, but they've never tried getting unstuck, or they've never tried to unstuck wax from it before. You will need a strainer. Now look at how grungy this one is. But as soon as that gets in there, it's gonna free up. And then this is what I use for a mold, another Tupperware or Rubbermaid. I have a spoon. This is an old spoon that doesn't match anything that we use today, so it's a one of a kind and cheap. I don't know where it came from, but now it has wax on it. When I just do a little bit of wax, I have one of these small ones. So, but I use these over and over and over again. They don't go bad, and they may look bad, but what comes out of them looks pretty good. Some wax from last year that I processed. So what we want to do is we want to fill this pan about an inch or two up from the bottom with water. And then we're going to turn it on low and we're going to heat that up. So let me do that and then we'll be right back. Okay, let's take a second and talk about the different kinds of wax that we're looking at here. Right here and right over here, we've got cappings wax. Cappings wax from just the tops of the honeycombs from the Honey Super is usually very clean. This, what I have in my hand, is some honeycomb. This was burr comb that they had drawn funky in the frames, and it's very clean. It didn't really have time. It was fresh wax. It didn't have time to get dirty. And there's a piece of comb that we cut from our honeycomb video. And now this is all the clean wax. This is going to be really good for your chapsticks and soaps and body or hand creams and stuff. Now over here in this tub, I've got some of the nastier stuff. I cleaned out a couple of frames, and they had propolis on them, and they had just some nasty stuff. And this was in between the frames, and it was a little bit on the gooey side. I think there's some larvae in there, but this is not the good stuff. This is not the clean stuff. But the way that I process it, I do put it all together. I don't segregate it because I'm going to be running it through a sieve, and it will take out most of the propolis. Everything will separate into layers, and we shouldn't have any problem coming up with a reasonably clean block of wax. Okay, it's been almost 10 minutes, and you can see that this is just about all the way melted, but it is not boiling yet. Okay, we don't want it to boil. Now this is this is the next thing that I do, because I know that this is getting just about to the point where I want to pour it. It's got just a few more wax chunks to melt down. I'm going to wait for these to be completely melted. But before this boils, I want to heat up my strainer. Okay? Because as you can see my strainer has almost no holes left in it. Okay? It's propolized and waxed up. So what I want to do is I want to set it in here, and I want to warm it up. Okay, I want to melt what's on my strainer so that when it pours, it can pour through. Nothing's really going to be sticking to the outside. See how much better that looks already? So warm the strainer over the stove before you go ahead and pour it, if you're doing this just on a small scale like this. And everything that I do so far that I've shown you has been extremely small scale, backyard, hobby beekeeping. Okay, and I do things as inexpensively as possible. I'm a tightwad. I don't like to buy a lot of expensive equipment. And you can see this is just, I turned it off, but it's an electric stove, so it stays hot for quite a bit longer. So, all right, let me set this up and we'll actually do the first pour. Okay, so here we go. Got our pan. We're just going to pour this through the strainer. Doing a little bit more than usual at one time. Might need a spoon to keep your strainer open. Get some of the muck out of the way. There we go. Just agitate this until it all comes through. And there's all a good amount of propolis and cocoons, bee parts, dirt. That was in the wax. This is mostly from the comb that I scraped out of the hive, not from the cappings. You can be as particular about this as you want to be, but that's about as far as I want to go. Set this over another container, let it drip so I don't get it on the floor. Okay, and that's step one. And now we have to let this cool. As soon as it cools, we can do it again, and it'll get even cleaner the second time. Okay, let's check it out in a little while. Okay, so it is the next morning, and you can see there's still plenty of dirty, grungy water on the bottom, but the wax, nice and solid. It's just gonna pop out the sides. The corners get a little bit stuck, but we're going to take that outside and we're going to tap it out and see what we can do with this and see how good it is. Okay, outside, and we're just, this is pretty simple, pretty fun. Dump it upside down, and you can see this, it comes out pretty clean, and there's our wax. You know, this layer, let me set this up. Just take my spoon from inside, and now, oh, I got a friend. Got a honeybee. I'm sure they are not here for the wax just yet, or for the honey smell. This is all dirt and propolis. that is heavier than wax, so it sinks, but it's still lighter than the water, so it floats just under the wax layer. Okay, continuing on with this wax processing. I ended up filtering this wax, or not filtering. Gosh, let me take that back. I didn't filter this at all, not one time. I ran this wax through a sieve, just your normal metal mesh kitchen strainer, 3 times. I melted it down, ran it through the sieve, let it cool, scraped the propolis and dirt off the back, ran it through, or melted it again, ran it through the sieve again, let it cool, scraped the propolis off the back, and then I did it a 3rd time. And look at what we ended up with. Okay, it's still here in the tub. Haven't busted it out yet, but check this out. Look how yellow that is. Isn't that pretty? That is just gorgeous. And let's see how dirty it is on the bottom. Let's flip it over and take a look. Oh. There we go. 2 pieces. Still got a little bit of goo to scrape off, but that's not bad. Let's see if we can take this off real quick. Face the facts. We've got a recession on right now, and times are hard. Money is tight, and if you've got the notion to spend $1 million on beekeeping equipment, you can do it easily. You can buy all the fancy stuff and all the tricks and doodads that are going. You can go through those supply catalogs and just have a ball. But if money's tight for you and you're doing beekeeping because it's a good hobby, it's a nice way to get outside, and just because you don't want to pay the price for honey, or if you want to have a little side hustle and something to sell on the side, you got to cut costs, and you got to make do with what you've got and make the most of what you have. So you'll see, review this footage again. I didn't put this through a screen, through any kind of a fancy filter. I didn't let it soak through paper towels. I didn't let it soak through an old t-shirt. When you do, your actual clean wax will get absorbed into that filtering material, whether it's coffee filters, paper towels, t-shirts, mesh, muslin, cheesecloth. I don't know what you want to use, but just be patient with it. And if you're patient with this and you melt it, strain it, let it cool, take it out like I did, scrape off the back, melt it again, let it cool, scrape off the back. You do that 3-4 times, you are going to get wax that is just as clean and just as pristine as somebody who runs it through micro mesh filters and loses a lot of wax in their in the medium that they're filtering it through. So I don't see the point in doing it that way. Same thing with if you watch my last video with the uncapping with the honey harvest, you see I didn't put a lot of money into buying an uncapping tank. Didn't need it. Just used an aluminum pan, and then I recovered over 7 pounds of honey from my cappings, and that was only from one super. Multiply that out. It's a lot of money. 7 pounds of honey is $70, and you know, that right there, just from what I recovered by filtering, or not filtering, but by straining my cappings would have almost paid for that world's cheapest extractor. I only paid $121.99 for that. So save your money. Be wise. Don't buy every little trick and doodad and fancy shiny this and that you see out there. It's just not necessary. People have been keeping bees for thousands of years and they haven't spent a lot of money. And if you can go to a garage sale and get yourself a cheap power miter saw and a cheap table saw, you can make all of your own frames, you can make all of your own boxes, you can make your bottom boards, you can make your lids. I told you in one of my other videos, all my lids are pressed particle board with shelf liner on top of them, and they've lasted 4 or 5 years. And I got them at Menards as a second. They had a broken piece on them, so they couldn't sell the whole board at full price. I got the 8-foot board with a corner chunk missing out of it, and I think I only paid $3 or $4, and cut that up and got 4 lids out of it. And you know, so you're talking about $1 for a lid. Every little place where you can go and save money and save $1 here, save $1 there, it'll all come back to you in the end, and you'll appreciate it. And you get to say, hey, I was kind of wise on that one, you know, saving money. But that's about all I have. And check that out. Isn't that pretty? Two big chunks. This is probably close to a pound of wax, and that's just from one super. And I didn't lose any of it to the filters. So that's pretty neat. Money in the bank right there. That's going to go towards some chapsticks and starter strips. I'm going to melt that down and dip a board, make some starter strips out of that. So there's all kinds of ways to save money, and I recommend, especially now, do what you can. We're all in this for different reasons, and if you've got the money to spend on fancy equipment, then God bless you, go right ahead. But if you're like the rest of us and every dollar counts, learn to pinch your pennies, try and get by, and enjoy the process. It doesn't take that much longer. We're not in a hurry. All right, well, once again, I'm Brent. This is Beekeeping in Paradise, reminding you that no matter where in the world you are, if you've got bees, you are beekeeping in paradise. Be kind, be safe, be well. God bless.